Grade mathematicians, I'm getting you ready for your test that you're going to be taking today on coordinate grids. I just want to review a few things for you really quickly. We're going to start out with the x-axis. Remember, our x is right here, so I'm going to write an x on there. So remember, that's my x. It's just like a number line. It goes left to right. And remember, on a number line, these are positive numbers and those are negative numbers. On our y-axis, it goes up and down. This is also like a number line. It's just a number line that goes up and down like a thermometer. At the top is my positive. At the bottom is my negative. Each quadrant has its own kind of ordered numbers that you're going to find in here. Our ordered pair in this would be a positive, positive, because first I go to my x-axis and it's positive. Then I go up or down, which is my y-axis, and that's also positive. So quadrant 1 is positive, positive. Quadrant 2 is negative, positive, because first I go to x, which is negative. Then I go up or down on y, which is positive. Quadrant 3 is negative, negative. First on x negative, then on y negative. And quadrant 4 is positive, negative. First on x positive, then on y negative. The other thing that I want you to remember is that first x, then y, because that's something that you guys often forget. Now, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pause this right here, because in order to take this test, I need you to copy all of this down on a piece of paper for me. So I need you to have all of this down, and I need you to bring it to my desk and turn it in before you start your test. So go ahead and pause this to copy it down, and then I want you to restart it because I have one other thing I want to show you. Okay, guys, I'm giving you a little bit of a test preview, actually. This is actually what's going to be on your test. So the thing I wanted to show you is right here is our coordinate grid. It's got a lot of different points, and they're all labeled with letters. And then you're going to have your questions down here, and your questions are all going to go underneath this. So I want to make sure that when you take your test, you remember this is the grid you're looking at. So you'll look at your question, and then you might have to scroll back up to find it. Because you're going to be going up and down, it wouldn't be a bad idea to write your ordered pair in a dry erase marker on your desk, so that when you go up and you look, you can find it, write your answer on your desk, and then go back down and fill your answer in on the question blank so that you don't get these wrong. Everybody can have dry erase markers anytime that you want to. I would also say that that other piece of paper that you copied down for me, after you turn it in, before you start your test, it would be a really good idea to write some of that stuff down if it's something that gives you a problem. You obviously have a coordinate grid right in front of you with the x labeled and the y labeled, but if I were you, I'd make sure to write on my desk first x, then y, because that's where you usually get messed up at. If you're a regular 6th grade math, you can stop right here, turn your paper into me, and you'll be ready to take your test on WIO. If you're pre-AP, stay tuned because I have a few more things for you. All right, pre-APers, one thing I want you to notice is that there's 12 questions on this test, and it says 120. So I don't want you to be freaking out and thinking you got all kind of bonus points, because when you get your test back, up on the top, it's going to say something like 120 out of 120, if that's how many you got right. That's not 120 grade. It's 100% grade because you got all of them right. It's just 120 points on this point thing because all the questions are weighted to where they all have the same amount of points on them. So don't be like crazy thinking, oh, I got all kind of bonus points, because you didn't. You're going to actually get a percentage grade. So it's going to show you a percentage grade as well. Make sure you're paying attention to the percent grade and not to the number grade. We do have some other questions on your test that are not coordinate grid questions. You remember this week, one of the things that we talked a lot about, we did a blind Kahoot on, is what happens when you multiply numbers together and one of your factors is a fraction. So you could be looking at a number that has a whole number and a fraction, a decimal and a fraction, or a fraction and a fraction. And we did that in your interactive notebook. You might want to review that. You remember when you're multiplying times a fraction that is greater than 1, like 6/5 or 7/4. Those are all more than one whole, so your number is going to be a bigger answer than it started out with. If you're dealing with a fraction that's less than 1, like 1/25, 7/8, 1/2, it's going to make your answer be less than what it started at. It's going to decrease. So you're going to have, let's see, 1, 2 questions about that. The other thing that we talked about some And you might not remember is we talked about what do you do when you are multiplying or dividing, I should say, fractions. So I'm going to start a new sheet right here for you, and we're going to look at fraction division. So when we're dividing a fraction, we say something like 4 divided by 1/4. You remember that what we said, that in order to do this, we're going to keep the 4, but we're going to be multiplying times the reciprocal, because 4 times 4 is going to give us the same thing as taking 4 and dividing it into quarter pieces. And that's because you'd have your 4 holes like this, and each of those 4 holes would have 4 parts, right? And 4 times 4 is 16. So what we do is we just take that division, that fraction, and we flip it over to the reciprocal, and then we can multiply. And this would be just like taking 4 over 1 times 4 over 1, and that is 16 over 1, or 16. Same thing if you have a something that's not a whole number, like 3/4 divided by 1/2. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to take your 3/4, then you're going to make a multiplication sign, and you're going to flip your fractions. You get a reciprocal, and 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. You're going to go ahead and simplify that, so you end up with 1 and 1/2 as an answer. So I just want to make sure that you remember to do that. We talked about it. We haven't talked about it a ton and a half, but this is something you did in 5th grade. You should remember it. Okay, so there's a couple things that are going to help you on your test. You're going to remember that if the fraction is greater than 1, you're increasing. If it's less than 1, you're decreasing. And remember to keep change flip when you're dividing fractions. So I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, except that you do have to copy this. So you needed to copy that coordinate grid that we already had. You need to copy this onto your paper. That's what I expect to see on your paper that you give to me, is that coordinate grid and this information right here. Now, if I were you and I wanted to do really, really well on my test, since Mrs. DeBoard lets me have a dry erase marker and I can write on my desk, after I turn this paper in, I'm going to show it to Mrs. DeBoard. She's going to come look at my desk and make sure it's clean. Then I can write down all the stuff that I just wrote down on my desk. I would definitely write this down, because this is probably what's most likely to give you trouble. And if you write that down on your desk, it doesn't take very much time, but it's going to really, really help you a lot. And guys, this is a really good test-taking skill. When you're doing something that you're not a little bit worried about, or that you are a little bit worried about, you should write down what you might have troubles with. When I took algebra in college, this is what I would do. I couldn't take notes in, but as soon as I sat down, I would write down all the things that I thought I might have trouble with, and it really helped me on your test. So y'all have a really good test, 12 questions, pretty easy. When you get done, you'll be doing things through math.